Welcome to the Deep Dive, your shortcut to understanding, well, pretty much anything complex.
Glad to be here.
Today, we're getting into something you see every single day, maybe even right now in the mirror, eye color.
Mm-hmm. It seems simple,
Mm.
but the science and genetics behind it, that's a whole different story.
So for this deep dive, we've pulled together some insights from a few places, articles from Vitanova and newsmedical.net.
And a really detailed research paper investigating the genetic architecture of eye color in a Canadian cohort.
Right. So our goal, our mission today, is to unpack all that. We want to figure out the key genes, understand why there's such a spectrum of colors, and really get the story behind those irises.
Sounds good. Where should we start? The basics.
Yeah, let's start there. What actually makes eyes different colors?
Okay, so fundamentally it boils down to a pigment called melanin.
Melanin, like with skin and hair.
Exactly the same stuff. It's stored in the front layers of the iris. That's the colored part, around your pupil. And there are specialized cells, melanocytes, that actually produce this melanin.
Okay.
They store it in these little packages called melanosomes. Now, here's the interesting bit. Pretty much everyone has a similar number of the melanocyte cells themselves.
Oh, so it's not the number of factories, but...
It's more about what's inside those packages and how many packages there are. The amount of melanin within each melanosome and the total number of melanosomes, that's what varies between people and creates different eye colors.
Okay, that makes sense. So less melanin, lighter eyes.
Precisely. Take blue eyes, for example.
Yeah.
They have really minimal melanin, and it's in a relatively small number of these melanosomes.
Yeah.
Green eyes are sort of in the middle. Moderate melanin, moderate number of melanosomes.
And brown.
Brown eyes have a lot of melanin packed into many melanosomes. That high concentration absorbs most light, making them appear brown.
Okay, that covers the big three, but you see other colors too. What about hazel eyes or amber? They seem distinct.
Yeah, absolutely. And the stats on those are quite interesting. Hazel, which is often described as that mix of green, gold, maybe some orange or brown flecks.
Right, kind of multi-toned.
Exactly. That's found in about 5% of people globally, but it gets more specific geographically. It's much more common in the U.S., maybe around 18%, and also pops up more frequently in people from North Africa, the Middle East, Brazil, and those with Spanish heritage.
Huh. So there are definite regional patterns. What about amber? That very solid golden color.
Amber eyes, yeah, they have a bit more melanin than hazel, but still less than typical brown eyes. They're also around 5% globally.
And any regional links there?
Seems to be more prevalent in people with Asian, Spanish, South American, or South African ancestry. Again, these patterns hint at, population genetics and maybe historical migrations.
Fascinating. And green eyes. You said they were middle of the road for melanin, but are the common?
Actually, no. Green eyes are the rarest of the common colors. Only about 2% of the world's population has them.
Wow, just 2%. Okay, so we've got the pigment, the cells, the different shades. Let's talk genetics. You mentioned it's complex, not just one gene, right?
Oh, definitely not. It's way more complicated than the simple dominant recessive stuff we learned in high school biology like pea plants.
Ah, right.
Scientists now think over 150 genes might play some role in influencing eye color.
150? Seriously?
Yeah, it's a whole network. But of course, some have a much bigger impact than others.
Okay, so who are the main players, the big ones?
Well, two genes located really close together on chromosome 15 are definitely the heavy hitters. They are OCA2 and HER2.
OCA2 and HER2. Okay, what does OCA2 do?
So OCA2 holds the instructions for making something called the P protein. And this P protein is vital for the melanosomes, those melanin storage packages, to mature properly.
Ah, so it affects the quality or amount of melanin storage?
Exactly. Variations in the OCA2 gene that result in less P protein being made generally lead to lighter eye colors. Think of it as slightly faulty packaging instructions leading to less pigment stored. Got it. Less P protein, lighter eyes. What about the other one? HER2.
HER2 is interesting. A specific bit inside the SRC2 gene is called intron 86, acts like a control switch for OCA2.
A switch?
Yeah, essentially helps turn OCA2 activity up or down. Certain common variations, polymorphisms in this SRC2 intron can dial down OCA2's activity.
So SRC2 tells OCA2 how busy to be.
Pretty much. If SRC2 dials it down, you get less P protein production, even if the OCA2 gene itself is fine. And the result, less melanin, lighter eyes. So SRC2 controls the controller, in a way.
Wow, okay. Layers of control. Are there other genes involved besides these two main ones?
Yes, definitely. There's a whole supporting cast. Genes with names like ASEP, IRF4, SLC24A5, SLC45A2, TPCN2, TYR, and TYRP1.
Okay, that's quite a list.
Right. They're all thought to have smaller effects, maybe fine-tuning the shade or intensity, possibly interacting with OCA2 and HRC2. It's like a big genetic collaboration. It really shows how complex even seemingly simple traits are. And this complexity must explain inheritance, right? Like how two brown-eyed parents can have a blue-eyed kid. That always confused me.
That's the classic example.
Okay.
And yes, it's precisely because it's not just one gene. With multiple genes involved, the current thinking is at least 3 main gene pairs contribute significantly.
2 pairs.
At least. The possibilities for combinations get much wider. So researchers talk about a couple of key ones for modeling this. There's EYCL1, sometimes called G, which seems to have alleles or versions for green and blue.
Okay.
And EYCL3 or BAY2, which has alleles for brown and blue. Remember, alleles are just different versions of the same gene.
Right, like different flavors of the eye color gene.
Exactly. Now you add dominance into the mix. The brown allele is dominant over green and blue.
Meaning if you have one brown allele, you'll have brown eyes.
Correct. And the green allele is dominant over blue. Blue is recessive, meaning you need 2 copies of the blue allele to actually have blue eyes.
Brown beats green, green beats blue.
Got it. So back to your example, 2 brown-eyed parents. If both of them carry a hidden recessive blue allele, along with their dominant brown one.
They don't show the blue eyes themselves.
Right. But they can each pass that blue allele onto their child. If the child happens to inherit the blue allele from both parents, they end up with 2 blue alleles.
And bingo, blue eyes, even though the parents had brown.
Exactly. The recessive trait pops up.
That makes sense. But what about the weirder exceptions? You sometimes hear about gray eyes or hazel, which we mentioned, or even rarely blue-eyed parents having a brown-eyed child. How does that fit?
Good question. That points towards those other modifier genes we mentioned earlier, the supporting cast.
They tweak the results?
Sort of. They can influence how the main genes are expressed, potentially leading to those intermediate shades like gray or the mixed colors in hazel. It's not always a clear-cut brown, green, or blue outcome. And the extremely rare case of blue-eyed parents having a brown-eyed child. That could potentially involve a new mutation in one of the key genes, or perhaps even more complex interactions we don't fully understand yet. Genetics still has some surprises.
It definitely seems that way. Now, that Canadian research paper you mentioned, what specific things did it find? Did it confirm this HERX2OC2 link?
It absolutely did. The study looked at over 5,600 people, all of European ancestry, which is important because gene frequencies can vary between populations.
Right.
And it strongly confirmed that the HERX2OC2 region is the major player. But here's a cool finding. They identified multiple independent genetic signals within that region.
Meaning, not just one switch, but maybe several slightly different switches or signals in that area influencing eye color?
Exactly. It suggests the regulation there is even more complex, more layered than just one single variation controlling everything. Fine-tuning, essentially.
Interesting. What about the other genes like IRF4 or TYR?
For several of those other contributing genes, IRF4, SLC24A4, TYR, and TYRP1, the study suggested they likely each have just one main genetic signal, one primary variation that contributes to eye color, less complex than the HERX2-OCA2 region.
Okay.
The researchers also found some intriguing potential links between these eye color genes and something called expression and methylation patterns, specifically in the melanocytes, the pigment cells in the iris.
Methylation, that's like chemical tags on the DNA that affect gene activity, right?
Precisely. It suggests it's not just about having the gene variations, but also about how actively those genes are being used or silenced within the actual eye cells, and that this activity level is connected to the genes themselves.
So it's the genes and how they're being regulated in the target tissue. That adds another layer.
It does, and it ties into population differences too. The study noted, for instance, that the Quebec population sample had a lower frequency of blue eyes and a specific HRC2 allele compared to other Canadians in the study.
Reflecting different ancestry and genetic history within Canada.
Likely, yes. It shows how these genetic frequencies can shift across populations.
Did the study look at hair color too, since melanin is involved in both?
It did. They found, as you'd expect, a significant genetic overlap between eye and hair color determinants. Many genes influence both.
Which explains why certain combinations, like blonde hair and blue eyes, are common.
Exactly. But they also found unique genetic factors primarily affecting one or the other. The classic example is the MC1R gene.
The red hair gene.
That's the one. It's key for red hair, but the study confirmed it doesn't seem to have a major impact on eye color on its own. That's why you can have redheads with blue, green, or brown eyes.
That makes total sense. Okay, so we've covered the typical range. Are there specific genetic conditions where eye color is really noticeably affected?
Yes, there are. Conditions related to albinism are prime examples. Ocular albinism mainly affects the eyes, causing severely reduced pigment in the iris.
Leading to very light eyes.
Very light blue or sometimes pinkish-looking eyes, and often significant vision problems because pigment in the eye is important for normal vision development and function.
Right.
Then there's oculocutaneous albinism, which affects the eyes, skin, and hair. People with this condition have very little pigment overall. Very fair skin, light hair, and very light-colored irises.
And these are caused by mutations in...
Mutations in the genes involved in producing or distributing melanin. So, problems with the fundamental pigment machinery.
Okay. What about having two different colored eyes?
Heterochromia, that's another fascinating one. It happens when there are genetic variations, sometimes even spontaneous mutations affecting just one eye, or differences in melanin distribution between the two irises. So one eye might follow the genetic instructions for blue, the other for brown, for example.
So many variations. It really feels like even with all this research, there are still some, I don't know, mysteries.
Absolutely. Especially, as that Canadian study highlighted, within that intricate HER2Ka2 region, understanding precisely how those multiple signals interact to regulate melanin, specifically in the iris, we're still working on the full picture.
We know the main characters, but maybe not the whole plot yet.
That's a good way to put it. And research keeps refining things. Think about forensic science. They use systems like IrisPlex to predict eye color from DNA found at a crime scene.
Based on these known gene variations.
Exactly. And as research uncovers more about these subtle interactions in modifier genes, those predictions will likely get even more accurate.
It's a constantly evolving field.
So, as you can see, something as seemingly simple as eye color is a breathtaking tapestry woven from a multitude of genes, intricate biological processes, and subtle variations in our individual genetic code. It serves as a constant reminder of the incredible complexity and stunning diversity that makes each and every one of us unique.
Okay, let's distill what this all means for you, the learner. Hopefully, this deep dive has not only illuminated the fascinating science and genetics behind eye color, but has also sparked some aha moments about the profound interconnectedness of our genes and the remarkable ways they shape the world we see and the world within us. Just as the myriad genes collaborate in a dazzling display to create the unique spectrum of human eye color, from the deepest soulful browns that seem to hold the wisdom of ages, to the shimmering ethereal blues that mirror the vastness of endless skies, and the rare, captivating greens that whisper secrets of enchanted forests. So too does the All Sorts podcast on YouTube aspire to illuminate the boundless and beautiful landscape of knowledge. If you've enjoyed this exploration into the captivating genetics of something we witness every single day, we invite you to help us shine a light on even more corners of understanding. Like this deep dive, share it with fellow seekers of knowledge, and subscribe to the All Sorts podcast on YouTube. You really become an essential thread in our ever-expanding network of learners by doing that.
Yeah, it makes a difference.
Immerse yourself further in our archive of past explorations where all sorts of fascinating subjects await your discovery. And connect with us beyond YouTube. Follow the All Sorts podcast on X, Instagram, and Threads. That's where the conversation continues and new pathways to discovery unfold. Let's keep this vibrant cycle of curiosity and learning alive, one like, share, and follow at a time.
And maybe leave you with a final thought to chew on.
Oh.
Consider this. If something as outwardly visible as eye color holds such a wealth of intricate genetic secrets, what other hidden wonders lie within the vast landscape of our DNA, just waiting to be brought to light?